Being on the front lines in the fight to educate the next generation is tough. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with important updates, encouragement, and connection. Welcome to the Institute Leaders Lifeline. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Institute Leaders Lifeline. My name is Mike Sinclair, Deputy Superintendent of School Support at the Charter Institute at Erskine. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership and about we've been in this series of risk. And so today we're going to talk about, in order to take risks, you have to build confidence in your team to trust you. So what are some of the ingredients that you need to build the confidence in you from your team? So before we get started, though, let's showcase a couple of schools in the Institute's portfolio. Many times when you hear about virtual schools, you think about a student and a computer and a desk, maybe in their bedroom or their home office, all alone, isolated. Well, let me tell you this. The virtual schools and the Institute are really working hard to make connections between their students and staff, but also their students and their communities. Well, recently, after Hurricane Ian, the students at Lowcountry Academy, the students that are in their ambassadors program, they reached out to the Gulf Coast Humane Society, and they were able to create a fundraiser. They created an Amazon donation link. They want to make sure that they're contributing to the community as a large. If you want to find out more about that and other ways they connect to their community and each other, contact Miss Jarita Connor, the principal at Lowcountry Connections Academy. Now, we'll stay in the lower part of the state in Charleston at the Gate School. Literacy is a core component of the program at the Gate School, and recently they had their sixth graders go and read to their first and second graders as part of their Reading Buddies program. I love this idea on many levels. But one of the main ones is it's building literacy while building culture, and those two have to go hand in hand. If you want to know more about that, get in touch with Ms. Jean Castelli at the Gate School. I'm sure she would be glad to share some of their programs with you. Okay, now to this week's episode. First, I hope you're enjoying the videos. This has been a huge learning experience for me. We've been talking about risk. Well, this was a risk. When I was just me and a microphone and my computer, and that was it, it didn't matter how I looked. All of a sudden now I realized, man, you need a haircut. Man, you need to make sure your tie is straight. So we're learning as we're going, but I appreciate your patience and you sticking with us through this. And hopefully you're getting something out of this podcast so that you can share it with others and you can be a most effective leader that you can. We've also got it on Apple Podcast, and our statistics show that that is helping you watch and listen and spread it to others. And we are so thankful. You are really our outreach, and you are the reason that we're creating this. So if you have not subscribed, I encourage you now, go subscribe so that you don't miss a single episode, so that it'll automatically load in your podcast feed. Now, let me start this episode also by thanking Mr. Cameron Runyon, our superintendent of the Charter Institute at Erskine, for spending time with us last week for the interview. I know his schedule is very busy, and for him to carve out time to spend with us was very important, and I am so appreciative. I hope you heard a lot of what he was talking about as far as embracing the risk. He admitted he's very risk averse. Some of his background is in finance, and in there he wanted to be very cautious, but he saw a need. And when you see a need, it's worth a risk. So he joined into the South Carolina educational environment and started the Charter Institute at Erskine, and his risk has paid off, and we are changing the lives of tens of thousands of kids. So hope you enjoyed that. If you didn't listen to it, go back and check it. There's lots of great little words of wisdom there that he's left for us. Now, I'm going to go back at this time and start with a quote from episode number 8. And I want to look at my computer and read it verbatim, so stick with me here. Colin Powell said, "Leadership is solving problems. The day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you stop leading them. They have either lost confidence in you or in confidence that you can help them, or they've concluded that you don't care. Either case is a failure of leadership." I want to dwell a little bit and spend some time talking about that word, confidence. Your team must have confidence in you. They must trust you. They must know that you have their best interest and the organization's best interest. A lot of people seek that title of leader, whatever that is in their organization, but they do not have the knowledge, the courage, the wisdom, or the leader's mentality to carry that off. Now, I'm going to say those one more time. Knowledge, courage, wisdom, and a leader's mentality. Those are 4 ingredients that are critical to you being able to build confidence in your team. Confidence that your team trusts you, that you're going to guide them in the right direction. Now, let's start with knowledge. Well, in order to assume leadership, you have to have basic knowledge. You have to understand the job. You also need to understand the roles of those on your team. If you don't understand those roles or you don't know the details of them, it's very hard for you to give effective feedback to your team. It's hard for you to see how they all fit together and have a vision for them to work together. You have to have a basic knowledge. Now, does that mean you come into your leadership opportunity and know everything? Absolutely not. You do not have to know everything. As a matter of fact, learning together with your team is a great way to build that collaboration, to build the relationship, to build the togetherness. Your team needs to see you learning new things and investing in them, investing in their roles. So knowledge is a key though. You can't go into the leadership role if you don't understand what you're leading. Courage will be our second one. Your team needs to see you taking risks. For me, going into making a podcast was a huge risk. I've never done anything like this. As a matter of fact, I very rarely even use my social media. If it's not for the school I used to lead or now the Institute, I probably wouldn't have anything. Even my family isn't shared very much on my social media. But the other day, my son was talking to one of his friends and he said, yeah, my dad's making more content than me. It kind of made me laugh because me making content is kind of a joke around our house, but I guess it's true. Part of my job is to work with our communications team and help lead them. So I need to find ways to take risks, to have courage, to join with me, learn new things with them, and we can move forward. So it gives us a chance to embrace a common action. So now I believe this has made us stronger. As a leader, you have to have knowledge, but you also have the courage to try new things. Now, the third ingredient I'm going to share is wisdom. In order for you to grow your wisdom, you have to be able to listen, you have to reflect on that, and you have to be humble. I'm a firm believer that wisdom comes with experience. So the more you can experience, the wiser you will be because you've seen and heard and experienced a lot of different things. So if you have a mentor, if you have things that you read or you listen to podcasts that pour into you, pick ones that are wise, pick ones that challenge you, pick ones that sharpen your views or your beliefs. But spend time when it's done to reflect and be humble to know you don't become wise by thinking you know it all. You become wise by humbling yourself to reflect on the things that you've experienced or learned. I'll say that again. You become wise by humbling yourself and reflecting on the things that you have experienced or learned. You're never a finished product. Wisdom is not a finite characteristic that you fill up the bucket and you're done. You're wise. You're as wise as you'll get. No, wisdom is an infinitely growing attribute. So the day you feel you've reached the mountaintop and achieved the wisdom is the day that your mountain is going to start to erode. It will wash right out from under you. You need to be seeking ways to grow wiser by experiencing and learning new things, being humble and reflecting. Now, let's finish with the last ingredient is a leader's mentality. Dr. Rick Rigsby, and I love him and I share a lot of what he says, but he talks about having a large servant's towel. Now, I want to preface that a little bit and say, please don't misunderstand. A servant's towel doesn't mean that the leader goes along with everything. The leader's just there to serve the team. No, the leader has to have the confidence to be able to identify opportunities for the organization to grow. And sometimes that means challenge your team members, but you do that with a servant's heart. You do it in a way that you're going to make your team members better. You do it with their interest in mind as well as the organization's. So you've got to understand a leader's mentality is finding or diagnosing the core problem in whatever you're facing or the core opportunities to wherever you're going. So a leader's mentality says to model behaviors and attitude of what you expect from your team members. So if you're not reflecting those behaviors, then your team's not going to be able to follow you. You have to own when things are tough. You have to demonstrate the behaviors of overcoming that. We're in a very chaotic time, overcoming and coming out of the pandemic. So your leaders need, or your team members need you as the leader to own those. You need to own the tough situations. Be honest with them, but give them opportunities to grow. Give them optimism. Give them a chance to draw close to you so that you can model how to work through those problems. Have that leadership mentality. We've talked about 4 ingredients today to build the confidence in your team that you can lead them. First, knowledge, then courage, wisdom, and a leader's mentality. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Institute Leaders Lifeline. I hope you benefit from the time that we spend together. So please subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends and colleagues. We want to make sure that we are impacting those around us. Thanks for joining me on this journey of collective leadership. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of your team.
Be sure to follow the Institute on all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. At Erskine Charters, we'll have all of these resources, including this podcast, mini stories of our schools, and other things. So check us out. The opinions expressed within the content are solely the authors and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the Charter Institute at Erskine or its affiliates.